Hey everybody, welcome to the next exciting episode of the Stash Report from the Stash Project. Today is the 15th of January, 2016. It's 1:15:16. Hey, we have I think a really good show for you today. We got a bunch of kit reissues from Aoshima. We knew you had a big list of stuff that was coming out this month to sort of restock your hobby vendors after the first of the year. We're starting to see a little bit of the first hints from the Nuremberg Toy Fair, which will be coming around starting in, I guess, 12 days. So we're just less than 2 weeks away from finding out quite a bit of kit information, probably for majority of 2016 for several companies. And then we have a couple of other kit announcements, reissues from Fujimi came out today, yesterday, and a brand new kit was announced from Hasegawa this morning that sort of a bit of a surprise. So all in all, like I said, a good show going on today. And we actually have some speculation. We always talk about, we're the latest news and speculation. We don't really speculate that much, unless we're talking about kit releases and stuff like that. I actually have a really good chunk of speculation that started this morning, thanks to a post on one of the forums that has led to a large debate. That's not a debate so much as it is a bunch of commentary on this forum, some of which to call idiotic might be a little bit harsh, but people aren't listening, and I find that very frustrating because I don't know everything. I'm not going to pretend to be that guy. However, I think there's a few things that I can comment on with relative surety, and this happens to be one of them. And anyway, so let's talk about some stuff here. I got the old notebook of knowledge here because we have some stuff to write down today. I guess we'll start out with this speculation because it does talk about a little bit of a kit announcement that's not technically public yet. Tamiya has tipped off on their USA blog site that they will, of course, have a booth at Nuremberg. And one of the things they're going to announce at Nuremberg, which you might find out a little bit early, depending on whether or not it actually goes out to the vendor sites in Japan prior to the actual show starting, is that they will be doing an all-new 1/24 scale Italian track-only sports car. Now, everything that Tamiya does in 1/24 scale is a sports car. If you ever look at your Tamiya kits, every one of them is in a series called Sports Cars. That includes the Honda City, the Honda City Cabriolet, but that's not what I'm thinking of. The Honda Today, the Toyota Hiace delivery truck, the Honda S600, S800, everything, every single thing, including like the Toyota Land Cruiser and the Mitsubishi Montero, Pajero, whatever you want to call that kit, depending on how you build it. Those are all 1/24 scale sports cars because that's what the series is called. So this has led to a little bit of debate about whether or not it'll be an actual race car or an actual sports car, but it is going to be track only, meaning that it should not be a street car. Italian sort of limits your companies, and right now, as we all know, if you're paying any attention, that Aoshima pretty much has Lamborghini's licensing all tied up right now. So it leaves Ferrari and Maserati. Maserati doesn't really have a track-only car right now, unless you start going into the past. So that makes the logical conclusion, without actually knowing, that this is probably, and if it's not, look back to this and say that I'm not saying for sure, but it's probably the Ferrari FXXK, which is the LaFerrari FXX, basically, or for lack of better terms, the Ferrari Enzo, and then there was the Ferrari FXX, and they did both those kits, and then the Ferrari LaFerrari, or just LaFerrari, because it didn't have the Ferrari first name, and then they made a track-only, limited, very, very limited edition version of that. It was called the FXX-K. Don't know why it wasn't just called the LaFerrari something or whatever, but be that as it may, that is more than likely going to be what is going to be announced next week. or in 12 days when the show opens. However, Revell of Germany has somehow lost the ability to license the Ferrari 250 short wheelbase kit. This is just something that came up today. And I've looked online, and sure enough, the kit has just evaporated off Revell of Germany's website. There's no reference to it. The only place I can find any reference to it at this point is that you can still pre-order for January delivery on Tower Hobbies. But being that Revell of Germany hasn't released the kit as of yet, and Tower Hobbies, still got the wobbly table there, guys. Sorry, trying to move my feet so I don't touch it at all. Being that that Revell of Germany hasn't issued the kit at all, and that Revell USA distribution of Revell Germany kits is usually a month and a half behind. It's obviously not coming out this month. So that's led to, what is this? The person who posted it said that Ferrari was pulling all licensing from all models, and there were going to be no more Ferrari model kits of any kind or any way, shape, or form. But nobody knew what the licensing was pulled for, and maybe they were just going to jack the price up, and nobody wanted to pay it, and blah 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 blah. Well, see, there's a couple of problems with that. One being the Ferrari 250 short wheelbase. For whatever reason, this kit is cursed. Artillery made the kit. There's also another one out there. Essie, I think, made it. But the Artillery one's the good kit, being, it's 20, 30 years old now, but it's the better version of the two. But for whatever reason, Artillery's never reissued that kit. They've also never really reissued some of the other Ferrari kits that they made during the same period, the 275s, for example. For whatever, like I said, they never have. But Revell of Germany's tried to release this kit once before and has some hang up with the licensing and had to cancel it. And then they announced it this fall, sometime back in October or so, that it was going to come out at the end of the year. And then it went a little bit in the beginning of this year, and then it just now apparently has evaporated again. I don't know if it's this kit in particular is cursed, and what about it is cursed, why Ferrari won't let this kit come out, or why they won't, what licensing tangle comes up every time this kit tries to come out. But the situation of it being oh my god, panic and run, the sky is falling because there are no more Ferrari kits is nonsense, because, well, there's 4 Ferrari kits coming out of Fujimi, and they actually should have come out 2 days ago, but they'll be in the next day or two. And then one of the things we have to talk about as far as reissues for February for Fujimi is a 1/20th scale F1 car. So in the next 45 days, Fujimi is going to reissue 5 Ferrari kits. And then we have this pending announcement from Tamiya that is 97% more than likely going to be the LaFerrari track car. So clearly, it's not a pool of licensing for everybody. It's a pool of licensing for Revell of Germany for that kit specifically, because they still have on their website all the other Ferrari cars. If you're going to lose your licensing, you would think they would lose the blanket licensing for every Ferrari kit that they make, which isn't what has happened. Don't know what it is about that short wheelbase kit that's got everybody cursed. Maybe they need to, maybe we talk about this joking between friends, maybe Tamiya's car's not going to be the FXXK, it's going to be the 250 short wheelbase. They're going to make a new one. And that's why the licensing got pulled. Be an interesting thing, except the 250 short wheelbase wasn't a race-only vehicle. So that's what the speculation has been today. There's been a little back and forth. I have pointed out, of course, what I just said, that, Fujimi still has their licensing. Tamiya apparently still has their licensing. It only seems to affect this one kit from Revell of Germany. And, wow, the Ferrari's just grew. Fiat is just greedy. Well, yeah, there is another problem. See, starting in the end of 2014 and ending 12 days ago, Ferrari has been spun off from Fiat into its own company for the first time since 1969, when Fiat bought half of Ferrari back then. So it's not Fiat being greedy. Fiat doesn't own them anymore. They're privately owned, or not private, publicly owned company at this point. Could Ferrari be greedy? Sure. And it's possible that maybe there wasn't across-the-board licensing fee raise when this took place. However, I I don't think it would really be in anybody's best interest for, Ferrari to be, okay, we're our own company as of the 3rd of January, and now we're going to cancel every agreement we have with everybody and start all over again. Well, that would just be silly. There's products in development. There's products, going on, and you just can't tell these people who have sunk all this money into all this stuff that they just can't do it. Although that's basically what they just did to Revell of Germany, because the kit should be like boxed and ready to go, you would think. Some person suggested, well, they should just take all the Ferrari logos off of the box and out of the decal sheet and just reissue it as like a classic Italian sports car. I guess thinking about the time that Academy did the I guess it's a Ferrari 250 something. There's a convertible Ferrari. It's not the 275. It's something else. And they just issued it as a classic European sports car without any of the Ferrari logos. This is another old artillery tooling. But the problem, with Revell of Germany will, of course, be that nobody at Academy seems to give a crap about licensing at all for anything other than Hyundai products. If you look at 95% of the kits that Academy has ever done, they've all been non-licensed kits. They did somebody's version, or they did a bad copy of the BMW 635i. They did Porsche 959. They did a Ferrari F40. The Ferrari F40 was like European modern sports car. It had no Ferrari logos. I'm not sure if that was the Protar tooling or if that was somebody else's. Because I personally have never seen these. There were only so many 959 tools ever done. Gunzi Sanyo did one, Fujimi did one, and then Tamiya did one. It's obviously not the Tamiya tool. But, they're in South Korea. I imagine it's pretty hard to sue somebody in South Korea from Germany, from Germany if you're Revell, but if you're from Italy. And, Dial Park did that 1/35th scale 1970s Mercedes-Benz terrorist car. Well, yeah, and Dial Park's in Hong Kong, and you really can't sue anybody in China, so there's that. I'm saying that if Revell of Germany somehow managed to talk Italy into giving them the kits, because Italy's the one that are running it, they didn't send the tooling on a train to Poland and run it out in Revell of Germany's factory and then ship it back to Italy. Italy's going to run the tooling in Italy or wherever they do their tooling process at now, because obviously Italy still exists. It's still a functioning company. And, assuming you could get them to give you the product under this goofy guise that we're just going to market it as a generic sports car, Ferrari's going to figure that out. They're going to figure out that they told you not to do something and you did it anyway. And that probably would, sincerely and ultimately kill the ability for Revell in general, because it's all owned by Habaco, both sides of it, to ever do a Ferrari kit ever again. They probably might even get so pissed off that they would pull all the Ferrari kits off the shelf, or at least not let them sell any more. And I pretty much could tell you that would shit can any ability for Revell to ever make another Ferrari kit in the future. And I assume that at some point, Ferrari's going to release some other car that, that Revell of Germany would like to make a cheap version of a Tamiya kit out of. Perhaps the next the next car after the 599 here. I can't think what the heck they're calling it. But there's a very LaFerrari looking, but not LaFerrari level car that replaced the 599. So be that as it may, know that the 250 short wheelbase kit is at least temporarily off the shelf in the sense of release dates, and that as of yet does not seem to be globally affecting Ferrari's model kits. So if you see any kind of scuttlebutt online that says that Ferrari's pulled all the licensing because Fiat's greedy, remember that A, Fiat doesn't own them, and B, it only seems to affect this one kit from Revell of Germany. So, moving along to things that we have to talk about that are new. Studio 27 announced some more sets of decals, as we said they would. What I think is interesting of the sets of stuff that is coming out, they're doing a carbon fiber decal set for the Ebro McLaren MP430 Honda kit. So if you're interested in that, Ebro at 120 scale F1 kit. There is going to be a carbon fiber decal set coming out for that. On the GT3 side of things, they're going to be doing the Walkenhorst BMW Z3 from the Nürburgring 2015 race, and then the Racing Studios McLaren 12C that was run in the Italian GT series. So that's a little step outside the box there, a little outside the Blancpain series for a change. And then what I think is really interesting, you would have to sort of do some kit bashing, scratch building in order to make the actual car, because the Ebro kit obviously doesn't come this way, but they're doing 2 sets of rally decals for the Citroen DS19. Yes, that little cockroach on wheels did really rally in real life. They're making a set for the 1965 Safari Rally and a set for the Monte Carlo Rally that will, depending on what car numbers and sponsors you use, either makes a 1962 Monte Carlo Rally or a 1966 Monte Carlo Rally. Now, I knew those were coming out. I had seen a release list last year. Was kind of wondering where they were, actually. So that's kind of very interesting and cool in the sense that that's a very different subject to do with your nearly $60 DS19 kit. But also if you wanted to, I don't know what, you'd have to find historical photos or historical documentation about those cars, because I don't know if they had cages in them or not. I've seen pictures of DS19 rally cars that have like big knobby sort of off-road tires within the concept of the 3 lug nut bolting system that Citroen used on those cars. They were heightened a little bit, had a little bit of ground clearance to them, and had night driving lights on them and stuff like that. So you'd have to do some scratch building or at least a little bit of kit bashing if you could pull the night lights out of something else. I don't think you could legitimately just build it factory stock and then slap the decals. Well, you could, because who would be able to argue with you? It's, 40, well, actually, no, excuse me, it's 50 plus years old, but it's not going to be technically correct that way. Over to Fujimi, there's they did a rather chunky little list of stuff they're going to be reissuing here. Now, I know we finally, you guys have been out there, but I know there's some people out there that like to build the F1 car, so we'll keep that in mind when we see the releases come up. And so they're going to be doing actually 3 1/20th scale F1 cars. These are all reissues of old kits. They're all reissues of kits that have not been around for a good long time either. Several of these haven't been out in probably close to a decade, maybe longer. They're going to be reissuing the Ferrari 126 C2. This will be buildable as the 1982 in one of these 4 races. I think the neat thing about this is I'm pretty sure these kits were all separate. All 3 of these F1 cars you can build in more than one race specification as far as the decals go, and Fujimi, at least in the way they were in the past, tended to separate those into separate kits. So the Ferrari can be built as either the San Marino, the Long Beach, the Monaco, or the Belgian Grand Prix of 1982. They're going to be reissuing the McLaren MP4-5. That's going to be, my Windows Updater just popped up. No, I do not want to restart the computer right now. The McLaren MP4-5, this can be built as either the Monaco or Spain Grand Prix from 1989. They're also reissuing the Lotus 97T. This can be built as either the Portugal or the Belgian Grand Prix of 1985. Moving back over to regular 124 scale stuff, they're reissuing the Y30, which is the early 1980s body style Nissan Gloria Cedric Turbo Brougham VIP. It doesn't have stock wheel covers, which is not a big deal to me as far as I'm concerned. This is much like the Y31. I'm trying to put this down and I keep sliding. Sorry. Just not cooperating right now, and it's been a long week and I just want to go to bed. The Gloria Cedric is similar to the Y31 one that they just did the month before last, or actually it might have been a little bit longer than that, where you can build the kit either or. They've just made the grills and things like that separate so that you just choose what set of parts you want to make. It's a 2-in-1 in that sense, and it's always been sold that way. Unlike the Y31 was also sold that way, come to think of it. This will come with window masks for the first time, and it's a sort of a motorized chassis. It's very, very basic, but it's not nearly as bad motorized chassis as the Aoshima Y30, Cedric, and Glory, which are separate kits, and they still include the battery boxes and switches and stuff like that. They're going to be reissuing the Nissan Laurel Medalist, which is known as the HC33, which is, I think, the mid-90s version of the Nissan Laurel. I want to say the Aoshima one is a motorized kit that has the engine insert of this generation. This kit will come with 2 sets of wheels, factory stock wheel covers, as well as Longchamp wheels. That is a situation where those were separate kits at one point. You had the factory stock one and the Longchamp one. The Longchamp one was actually sold in the Toge series. You're going to get both sets of wheels in the kit this time around, and that's going to have window masks. They're going to be reissuing the Volkswagen Golf CL and GL, again, separate kits put into the same box. This is the 3rd gen Volkswagen Golf. They're going to be reissuing the McLaren 12C GT3 car, this time in the Pacific Racing anime, I can't think what this, it's like Love 10 or something like that is what the show is called, maybe, or the anime is called, or maybe it's just what the I don't know what it's one of those things that's really truly lost in the Japanese to English machine translation as to what that means. But I've seen pictures of the car. It's anime. It's not semi, but scantily clad schoolgirl thing. But it is a real Super GT car. Pacific Racing is a real team, much like Good Smile Racing is. So that's a legit car. It's not like some of the Evangelion cars, which were just sort of weird concept cars that were based on the McLaren. This is an actual legitimate race car. They did race all 8 rounds of Super GT. Didn't do particularly well, but they did race all 8 rounds. And speaking of Super GT, they are going to be doing the Good Smile Racing Hatsune Miku SLS. This is going to be done in the final round. I can't think where the race was. I just looked at this yesterday. But Good Smile Racing did not do very particularly well this year. They finished 11th in the championship points. They had won the championship at least once during the series when they had the BMW kits that Fujimi made. Not a very good showing for the SLS. Don't know if that was to do with drivers or just the new platform, because they switched from BMW to Mercedes this year. But again, probably not the season they wanted to have, but they're going to be doing that one kit to do delivery that's specific to the last race of the year. And then the one new kit that they have coming out, and I say new, and I want to put air quotes around this, but really technically it is new. They're going to be doing a 1977 Lotus Esprit S1. Now, what this kit is going to be is the submarine James Bond kit that just came out in December with a road chassis underneath of it. It's going to be the same body, probably more or less the same interior. They'll probably make it more factory stock than the sub interior was. And then it's going to have a curbside chassis underneath of it with actual wheels. As we discussed when that kit was announced and when it came out, the kit obviously was designed to be a regular road car. Be interested to see if they do it as, again, a James Bond car. But this one will be a street car. Pure, just regular, run-of-the-mill 1977 S1, which was the first-gen Lotus Esprit. This is a kit that has never been done before in 1/24 scale. There's a Nichimu, or something, or was I trying to think of this? It's not Nichimu, it's like, it's Nietzsche something or other. I can't remember. The company's dead, and it's been long gone for 30 years now. That did a Lotus Esprit that was like maybe a late first gen or early second gen, but it was very motorized. I don't even know that it was necessarily technically 1/24 scale. This is, like I said, it's an all brand new tooling. It's not shared tooling with that old kit. This is the tooling I said they created the submarine with, and now, as we speculated, there is a road car coming. All that stuff's supposed to come out in February. I wouldn't necessarily be terribly surprised if the road version of the Esprit takes until March to get out. But again, all that tooling is usually done all at one time, and it's just a matter of running the kit off. And then the one new kit, and we actually have a picture of this, that was announced today from Hasegawa. This is going to be a March, tentatively speaking, delivery. And what this you're looking at here is obviously a 3D CAD drawing of the actual kit. And this is going to be a Honda N360 N2. The N2 being a little model designation that was sort of a mid-production run. No major significant thing. Just what the kit's actually called. The N360 is sort of a neat little car because this was the first production sedan. It's not really a coupe, really. It's a 3-door. But this is the first production vehicle that Honda did that wasn't a roadster. You'll remember, again, pay attention, that the Honda S600 was Honda's first mass production vehicle. And then it became the S800, which is a kit that had been around for a while, but the S600 was just released in 2015. The N360 is a K car, so it's a very tiny car, but it was the first mass-produced passenger vehicle. Just the S600, the little roadster, is considered to be a sort of limited production sports car. Even though it was mass-produced, they didn't make a whole ton of them. They made like 3,000 of them or so. The N360 was sort of the first really mass-produced people's vehicle kind of thing. It's not really a Beetle; it's more the size of a Mini Cooper. But it's a very much more friendly to everybody type car. You're not going to buy a convertible if you have a family. Well, you might if you're in a midlife crisis, but this is much more of a regular, everyday sort of mundane car, if you want to call it that. The N2 being a slightly, like I said, mid version. Started making these in the 1960s and ran through the early 70s. This is going to end up being like a late 60s car. You're going to be able to build it one of two ways, technically speaking. It's not going to be a really big dramatic difference, but you can build it as a base S or a super deluxe, sort of top of the line, if you want to call it that, car. The differences are going to be the Super Deluxe has fog lights in the front grille. There are a couple of different interior options between the two as far as the gauges, the shifter, and a couple other little interior pieces, as well as the tailpipe is different between the two, and the Super Deluxe has mud flaps, or mud guards, as they're calling them, on the back wheels where the base model did not. That thing we just showed you right here is the Super Deluxe. You'll notice it has fog lights in the front grille there, and then it has mud flaps out back. It looks like it's going to be basically two grills, two gear shifters. I don't know if it's just going to be two dashboards or it's just going to be two gauge clusters for the dashboards, two exhaust pipes. The mud flaps are either there or they're not. I think that's pretty much going to be it, but it's kind of neat that they're giving you the option to build it sort of two different ways. I believe the wheels are the same irregardless. That's going to be, like I said, it's a March delivery. It's all available for pre-order on HobbyLink Japan as well as Hobby Search. It's like $24, I think, or $25. It's $28 on Hobby Search. So $25, $28, somewhere in that price range. Again, you can't beat that with a stick as far as the price goes for a brand new tool. It is going to be a curbside, much like every other Hasegawa tooling is. There's very, very few kits that can be even described as full detail from Hasegawa. Most of them have sort of an engine compartment or an engine insert-y kind of thing where you could not actually take that thing and put it in another kit. The Lancia 037, the Lotus Jota, and Lotus Muria have those kind of engines in them. This will be, like I said, more than likely is going to be a curbside. The Lotus Esprit, by the way, if you haven't figured that out, that's also going to be a curbside, obviously, because it's based on a submarine. They're not going to create a whole new body with an opening engine compartment and put an engine inside of it and all the rest of that. So that's obviously going to be a curbside. The Lotus, by the way, is going to be $21, also available for pre-order on HobbyLink Japan. It's $23 or something like that over on Hobby Search. And technically speaking, I think that Honda is a announcement that was going to be made, really, really publicly at Nuremberg at the Nuremberg Toy Fair, and Hasegawa just for whatever reason decided to announce it today. But we'll see if they have any test shots of it available next, in a couple of weeks. All we're getting is these sort of 3D CAD drawings. And I think that is actually it as far as kit announcements go that we found out this week. And that leaves us with reissues from Aoshima out the ears here. And there's nothing new came out this week. Probably come out tonight, going into tomorrow, because Japan is working today working tomorrow. It's still not actually after midnight here. It's still technically Friday. This video is on time. But they're open on Saturday, and it's already almost 1 o'clock Saturday afternoon in Japan. Because they were closed on Monday again for another national holiday. I really would like to move to Japan, and not just because model kits are cheap of stuff I want to build, but also because they never go to work. They're off seemingly at least one Monday a month, and they take these giant breaks during the year at Christmas and over the summer and New Year's, and I have started my new job. I get my weekends off. I'm looking forward to actually, having the weekend off and all that kind of stuff. But, man, to have a weekend and a Monday off, stuff like that. I mean, this Monday is a bank holiday for us here in the United States, although I will still work. So, Aoshima here. This, again, all these are just reissues, so there's nothing here that's going to be mind-blowing. Nothing here is new. Every one of these kits is going to come out the exact same way it came out the last time. These are just refilling the shelf releases. And so we have the Back to the Future DeLorean from the first movie, the Back to the Future DeLorean from the second movie, and the Back to the Future DeLorean from the third movie. I guess interesting notes, if you've never paid attention to these kits before, this one from the second movie does indeed go into flight mode, where the wheels will flip down to the bottom like this, and the third movie car does come with two choices of wheels: the wide whites with the sort of pie plate wheel covers, as well as the railroad track wheels with a little section of railroad track that you can build to display it on, should you decide to go that way. For the people who don't know, these are not the Polar Lights kits. And the Polar Lights kits are not these. Those are two separate sets of tools as far as that goes. And these came out well before the Polar Lights kits were actually ever made. Also being reissued this week, the BNR 34 Nissan Skyline V-Spec 2. Nice kit. The only problem with Aoshima Skylines, while they do have a working suspension gimmick thing going on with them, is a very, very, very basic curbside chassis, in the sense that every single thing, for the most part, is engraved into the chassis, and it's a lot of masking and detail painting to make it look decent. Reissue of the Toyota Mark II Tour 5 late model Aero version. The wheels are different, the grill's different, a couple other differences between the two as far as the regular off-the-shelf JZX100 Mark II Tour 5 and this one. And this one obviously has the little sort of front lip and side skirt aero panels and stuff like that. Reissue of the 2014 Nissan GTR Pure Edition. This does come with the engine insert, as well, pretty much all of the R35 GTRs that Aoshima has done do come with. This is the Japanese JDM spec car, so know that this does not come with the left-hand drive. This can only be built with the right-hand drive. Also reissued the Toyota Hilux four-wheel drive, the double cab. I know we didn't get these here in the United States, and I'm not sure it was actually exported to any place that had left-hand drive, but the interior to this thing is more or less the Hilux Surf, which is what the 4Runner was, which does come with a left-hand drive. It would have been nice if they would have included that dashboard, just for the shits and giggles of it, if nothing else. Two more, guys, and we'll be done. Reissue of the cow look Toyota Hilux RN30 short cab, or single cab short body. This does come with a surfboard. So notice there's a little numbered thing pointing at the surfboard. It does come with the surfboard. U.S. bumper on the front there, but otherwise it is a Japanese spec Hilux and does not come with left-hand drive. And then last but not least, the Datsun 720 Lowrider kit. Again, this has U.S. bumpers and something else U.S. spec. But it is otherwise, they are parts added to what is an otherwise JDM Datsun, so it is right-hand drive again. There is no left-hand drive dashboard to that. be really great if they would go back and make regular factory stock cars out of those 2 trucks. Require a new chassis be made because the chassis that are in there are specific to the lowrider tooling that goes with all that, and so they are not technically factory stock. But I know that if they would make even if it didn't come with the left-hand drive, I would buy one of each if they made a factory stock version of it, like the Nissan's. What are they calling those? Lost my train of thought, and I'm choo-choo, it left the station, and it'll never come back. You guys know what I'm talking about, the Nissan pickup trucks. And now I can't figure out where they went in my stash. They've disappeared. Never to be seen. Up there they are. The Nissan Sunny long body trucks. I wanted to say Nissan Sunny, but I think that was right for some reason. So anyway, guys, that's what we have going on there. Of course, we will keep you guys actively up to date on the Ferrari licensing debacle or non-debacle that only affects Revell and everything else. And we should be getting a whole bunch of new kits out this week, or this week coming, as well as the AF Shima reissues will continue. And I think we're pretty much we're good right now on kit announcements for February anyway. All the big stuff will be coming out in 12 days at Nuremberg. We expect Aoshima will have kits there. Tamiya, of course, we just mentioned. Heller, Meng will more than likely be there. Although we don't know if they're going to be actually announcing any automotive tooling because they've been really, really into the armor stuff here lately. ICM will probably be there. Will they upscale anything out of 135th to 124th, or maybe do more 124 scale stuff of their own? Airfix, Ildery, all those guys are always there. So hopefully we'll find out some more stuff because almost all of the new Heller tools are out. The Ferguson tractor is the only thing that hasn't come out, and it's supposed to be out here pretty shortly. Not necessarily this month, but it's not that far off. My Mahari and my Citroen HY commercial van are bought and paid for, and they're going to be shipped over here in a couple of, actually this weekend. So next week we'll probably, maybe not next week, but the week after for sure, we'll have a shipping crate. Not much in the shipping crate, but we got those 2 brand new Heller kits to look forward to in that. I believe my Plasmos wheel order is in as well. I don't remember if I mentioned ordering the replacement wheels for the 2 Porsche 918s and the BMW i8. Also, my Porsche 918, my regular Porsche 918 is in. After the UPS people kicked it from Reno to here, one end of the shipping box was completely dented in, and one end of the model kit box was dented in. Fortunately, it was the dead air end and not the end with the body, and so there was no actual damage done, and I'm not one of those people that's anal retentive about my boxes. So long as the stuff inside was cool, then fine, you beat the out of the box all you want to. So I guess that's it, guys. We'll see you guys on the other side.